Welcome to Cinema Bites. Your go-to for movie recaps in a flash. Big twists, epic moments, all in just minutes. The series. The Gifted begins. In the women's prison shower, there is a mysterious woman who even showers with a collar on. She is elegant and rarely speaks, but her fellow inmates fear her because they see her hair constantly seeping black ink, a dye to hide her identity. It wasn't until the ink stained her white back that it drew everyone's attention. She slowly turned around, her dark green hair exuding an eerie aura, and her deep eyes sent chills down people's spines. She is accustomed to the strange looks from others because she is Lorna, the daughter of Magneto. Lorna has perfectly inherited her father's ability to control magnetic fields at will. Any metal in her hands is a lethal weapon. Anyone who crosses her is doomed, like this clueless guy who knew Lorna was a mutant but still asked her to show her powers. Lorna didn't refuse. Her hands lit up with green light, and the car outside levitated instantly. The guy was dumbfounded, his mouth nearly reaching the back of his head, but his joy was premature. Lorna exerted her power, slamming the car to the ground and rendering it scrap. Lorna smirked as if to say, "This is what happens when you provoke me." Yet despite her extraordinary powers, she remains at the bottom of society, constantly on the run. In a world coexisting with ordinary humans, being a mutant is a crime in itself. Faced with the police surrounding her, Lorna doesn't intend to surrender. With a forceful motion, she destroyed all the police cars instantly. Thinking they would retreat, she was surprised when they intensified their attack, firing wildly. Out of options, Lorna used her powers again, disarming 2 policemen. Though she could control the bullets' paths, she didn't want to kill, so she trapped the police in their cars, but knew this wasn't a long-term solution. Luckily, Marcos stepped in, his hands emitting blinding white light, forcing the police to shield their eyes. They seized the chance to escape the warehouse, only to be shot from behind by a policeman. Marcos fell, wounded, and Lorna lost control of her emotions. Anger surged within her, and she unleashed her powers in frustration. Marcos urged her not to linger, but Lorna in her rage wouldn't listen. She threw a policeman into a dumpster with all her strength, but was herself hit by a taser, losing her combat abilities. She was imprisoned, adding insult to injury. Although the police fired first, she was charged with attempted murder with harsher penalties for mutants. It was almost a death sentence, yet Lorna remained calm. Even when Reed offered her a deal to reduce her sentence in exchange for betraying her allies, she didn't care, as death seemed like a relief. But Reed, recklessly entering the glass room, made Lorna laugh. "You accuse me of attempted murder? Let me show you what that really means." Sensing the steel pin in Reed's knee, she manipulated it, causing Reed immense pain. But Reed, unfazed, presented a report, making Lorna's face darken. She never expected Reed to use her child to coerce her. Trapped in a dilemma, Lorna broke down completely, and her reckless actions led to heavier punishment. She was transferred to the notorious Lakewood prison, spat on by an inmate upon arrival. Just as she was about to retaliate, a guard stopped her. Passing another cell, she saw a completely white person with a collar, realizing they must be a mutant too. Back in her cell, Lorna surveyed the surroundings, noticing the abundance of metal, making it a potential weapon cache. She attempted to use her powers to escape, only to be struck dizzy, realizing her powers didn't work. She tried to ask someone, but was met with mocking laughter. Only a sympathetic inmate across the cell revealed the truth. The collar suppressed their powers. She said no mutant had ever left this place alive. Lorna, who would have laughed it off before, now had to think of her unborn baby and find a way out. During mealtime, she tried to befriend the other mutant to learn more about the collars, but the mutant, avoiding her gaze, quickly left, warning Lorna to stay away. Seeing the murderous look from the prison boss, Lorna understood everything. During exercise time, Lorna observed the prison's layout, realizing the high walls and guards made escape without powers impossible. Just as she planned her next move, the boss confronted her, demanding she clean her shoes. Proud, Lorna refused, mocking the boss's scar, a result of a mutant's attack. Intent on escaping, Lorna ignored the boss, turning to leave, but a henchman attacked from behind, raining punches on Lorna's face. Seeing her beaten to a bloody mess, the prison bully grew even more arrogant. Fueled by maternal instinct, Lorna finally refused to endure it any longer. Ignoring the pain from the collar's shocks, she used her powers to pin the bully against the railing. Before she could catch her breath, she was met with punches and kicks from the bully's henchmen. Surrounded by inmates who just sighed, the worst part was that despite them starting the fight, the guards indiscriminately threw Lorna into solitary confinement, with only her memories to hold on to. But even so, the Sentinel services wouldn't let her go, demanding Lorna reveal the whereabouts of her child's father to reunite them in prison. Otherwise, they threatened to cause a miscarriage. Thinking of the unborn life used as a bargaining chip, Lorna grew more determined. She persuaded herself to overcome her fear of the collar, preparing to use her powers to escape. The collar emitted a sharp warning, as if reminding her not to overestimate herself. But Lorna wouldn't yield. She endured the excruciating pain and challenged fate once more. As the iron door opened, her stamina reached its limit. Her legs trembled uncontrollably as she crawled out with the last of her strength. But she fainted from exhaustion after just a few steps. In a haze, she returned to the day she and Marcos fell in love. Lorna waltzed beautifully in the air. Marcos shattered a bottle on the ground, reflecting a beautiful light with the glass shards. At the moment their fingers touched, a stunning aurora appeared before them. It was a chemical reaction of light and magnetism. They kissed under the aurora, but it was just a dream, and her escape plan was shattered by the arrival of the guards. To prevent another escape, the authorities decided to transfer Lorna to a special prison with prior experience. Even the prisoner transport vehicle was specially designed. The doors were made of tempered glass with restraints for hands and feet, and there were no metal objects inside, a painstaking effort. To her surprise, Reed, who once used her child to coerce her, was now a prisoner too. Reed apologized for before and suggested they work together to escape. At first, Lorna didn't buy it, but for the sake of her child, she put aside her grudge. Reed said someone was arranged to rescue them, and they just needed to wait for the right moment. Soon, the opportunity came. The transport vehicle suddenly shook violently, as if it hit something. Jace immediately ordered the area to be sealed off, deploying all available forces. The mutants didn't expect so many enemies and sent an invisible man, but before he could approach, his powers failed. As he tried to flee, he was shot twice by the Sentinels. Marcos, seeing the dire situation, grew anxious. Not only his powers, but all the mutants' abilities were failing. Looking around, he realized it was their fallen comrade, Pulse, who could suppress mutant abilities. In desperation, Marcos used a handgun to draw enemy fire, risking his life to create an opportunity for Lorna. The guards were ordered to move the prisoners. Lorna knew it was time. As soon as they were unshackled, they attacked the guards. But as ordinary people with bound hands, they were quickly overpowered and locked up again. To make matters worse, Marcos was out of bullets. Despite using all his strength, his powers wouldn't work. In his despair, John lunged at a guard, disarming him with a few swift moves. With his extraordinary skills, John quickly subdued the guards. He then disrupted Pulse's power, restoring Lorna's abilities. Though she lacked usable metal, Reed had an idea: the metal screw in my leg. Seeing his determined eyes, Lorna didn't hesitate, using her powers to extract the steel pin from his leg. She then used it to unlock her restraints. The guards panicked and called for reinforcements, but it was too late. With a wave of Lorna's hand, the back door of the vehicle fell open. Lorna emerged and the agents opened fire. But bullets are metal. Lorna deflected them with a gesture. She then disarmed everyone with a powerful pull. Jace had no choice but to order a retreat. Lorna embraced Marcos, but there was no time for reunion.